Imagine getting a phone call from your brother's wedding planner and finding out your own parents told her you're not family anymore. Now imagine hanging up and canceling their fancy wedding venue with one email because the entire resort chain secretly belongs to you. Before we dive in, do me a tiny favor. If you love emotional, twist-filled stories like this, hit that like button and subscribe. It tells YouTube, yeah, we want more of this, and it really helps the channel out. The call came in on a random Tuesday afternoon. I was in my office, staring at a spreadsheet that looked like it wanted to fight me. Numbers, charts, quarterlies, just another glamorous day as Elena Rivera, boring older sister with a little job, as my family liked to think. My actual title, CEO of Ridgeline Hospitality Group. My family didn't know that part. My phone lit up with an unknown number. Normally, I let those go straight to voicemail. Spam, sales. Someone trying to sell me a warranty for a car I don't even own anymore. But something in my gut went, pick it up. Hello, this is Elena. The woman on the other end sounded professional, but there was this tightness in her voice like she'd rather be doing literally anything else. Hi, is this Elena Rivera? Yes, this is Elena. Hi, Miss Rivera, my name is Megan Price. I'm a wedding planner with Bluebell Events. I'm handling the wedding for your brother Daniel Lawson at High Timber Lodge next Saturday. I blinked. High Timber Lodge, our flagship mountain property, gorgeous cedar beams, glass walls, insane sunset views, also my baby, the first big acquisition I'd made. Daniel, I repeated. Right? I took my hand off the mouse and leaned back in my chair, looking at the city's skyline outside my window. Cars like toys, people like ants. I hadn't heard from my little brother in, 8 months? Not since the last family dinner where he'd looked me dead in the eyes and said, Elena, maybe it's better if you don't come around for a while. You always bring tension. Fun times. What can I do for you, Megan? I asked. She hesitated. Well, this is a little awkward. Go ahead, I said. You're okay, just say it. I got a call from your parents this morning, she said. They asked me to make a change to the guest list. My jaw moved, but no words came out. So I just let her continue. They asked me to remove your name entirely, Megan said softly, and to make sure you didn't receive any updates, reminders, or seating information. I let out a slow breath through my nose. There it is. Did they say why? I asked. She paused like she was reading from something she'd written down. They said, her voice dropped, she's not really family anymore. We don't want her there. She's not needed at this celebration. For a second, all I could hear was the faint hum of the AC and the clicking from my assistant's keyboard outside my office door. I stared out at the mountains in the distance. From up here, they looked peaceful, untouched, like nothing messy ever happened in the world. I see, I said quietly. Megan rushed to fill the silence. Miss Rivera, I am so sorry. I know this is none of my business, but this kind of thing almost never happens. I just wanted to call you personally instead of sending a cold email. That's very kind of you, I said. Most people would have just hit remove and kept it moving. It didn't sit right with me, she admitted. So I thought you deserved to hear it from an actual human. I smiled a little, even though my chest felt tight. Megan, can I ask you something? I said, of course. How are things going with High Timber Lodge? Is the staff treating you right? Food, setup, all that, are they on top of it? She sounded almost surprised at the question. Oh, yes. Honestly, it's one of the nicest venues I've ever worked with. The team has been amazing. The location is stunning. We got really lucky it was open for next weekend. They're usually booked out months, sometimes a year ahead. That's good, I said. I'm glad I caught myself. I'm glad Daniel picked a good place. There was this awkward pause, like she could sense I was editing my words. Is there anything else I can help with? She asked. Actually, yeah, I said. I need to make a quick call. Can I ring you back in about 10 minutes? Sure, Megan said. I'll keep my phone closed, and again, I'm really sorry you had to hear that. It's okay, I lied. Talk soon. I ended the call and just sat there for a moment. Not family anymore, not needed. They didn't even have the nerve to tell me themselves. They sent the wedding planner to do it. Pretty on brand, honestly. I stared at my reflection in the glass for a second. Gray blazer, simple blouse, hair pulled back. To my family, I was Elena with the office job. Quiet, awkward, too intense, always on her laptop. They didn't know that office job signed their fancy venues checks. I picked up my desk phone and hit a familiar extension. Yeah, boss, my assistant answered. Hey, it's Zara. Z, can you get me Mason at High Timber? I asked. Direct line, not the front desk. On it, she said. Give me two. I hung up and opened the Ridgeline dashboard on my computer. Property High Timber Lodge event, LAWSON/Carter wedding date, Saturday, 5 days out, HEADCOUNT, 200 status confirmed/paid. Of course it was paid. My parents would sell a kidney before they let a wedding look cheap. My phone buzzed. Got him, Zara said, patching Mason through now. A click, then a familiar voice. Miss Rivera, good afternoon, Mason said. I was just about to email you the updated numbers for the weekend events. Mason, I said, quick question for you. Anything you need? That big wedding on Saturday, I said. Lawson and Carter. How locked in are we? He didn't even hesitate. We're ready to roll. Ceremony on the lower terrace, reception in the main lodge, full bar, plated dinner, late-night snack bar, everything confirmed. Okay, I said. I need you to do something that's going to sound a little wild. I'm listening, he said, instantly serious. I want you to cancel the Lawson/Carter wedding, I said. Full refund, no penalties. Tell them we've had a corporate buyout and the property isn't available. There was a short silence. I could practically see him blinking. Just to be absolutely sure, Mason said carefully, you want us to cancel the entire wedding. With refund? Yes, I said. And I want a note on the account that we won't take any future bookings from that client at any Ridgeline location, not just High Timber. Aspen Ridge, Lakeview, Hollow Ridge, every lodge in our group. Understood, he said. Do you want us to offer alternate dates? No, I said. No alternate dates, just an apology and a full refund. Make it clear it's a corporate-level decision, not your call. Okay, he said. Do you want me to mention your name or just say corporate? I looked back out at the mountains again. Snowcaps in the distance. Trees dark and steady. Tell them it came from the owner, I said. Don't use my name, just owner decision. If the planner asks, you can give her my direct office number. I'll handle it right away, Mason said. Anything else you want me to do on this? Yeah, I said. Take care of your staff, this is going to get messy. None of this is on you or your team. If anyone gives you grief, send it up to my office. You got it, he said. We'll keep it professional. I hung up and let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Petty, maybe. Honest, also yes. You tell a planner your daughter isn't family, you don't get to party at her lodge like nothing happened. My cell lit up again. Megan, I picked it up. Hey Megan, I said, back already? Her voice was higher now, stressed. Miss Rivera, you are not going to believe this. I just got a call from High Timber. Oh, I asked like I hadn't personally pushed the first domino. What's up? They're canceling the wedding, she blurted. Like completely canceling it, 5 days out. Full refund, no reschedule, no transfer to any of their other properties. I let a little shock into my voice. Wow, I said. That's extreme. This has literally never happened to me, she said. I've been planning weddings for 11 years. I'm freaking out. I have 200 people, 5 days, and no venue. That's brutal, I said. What did they tell you? She shuffled some papers. The general manager said there's been a last-minute corporate buyout, she said, reading. That the owner made a decision and they need the entire lodge for that event. And that the owner also decided they can't take future bookings from this particular client family. Did they say why? I asked. No, she said. He was super professional, super apologetic, but firm. He said, this is a corporate directive from ownership. My hands are tied. I see, I said. There was a long pause. I could feel her brain working. Miss Rivera, can I ask you something? She said slowly. And if I'm out of line, just tell me. Go for it, I said. You said your name was Alina Rivera, she said. The couple is Daniel Lawson and Madison Carter, but your parents' last name on the contact form is Lawson Rivera. Are you related to the people who booked the venue? Yes, I said. Daniel Lawson is my younger brother. She went completely quiet. Oh my God, she whispered. Okay, I have to ask this and I feel insane even saying it, but do you know anyone at Ridgeline? Anyone high up, corporate, ownership? I looked at the framed photo on my shelf. Me in a dark blue dress, smiling with a glass of champagne at the grand reopening of High Timber Lodge. The brass plaque behind me. Ridgeline Hospitality Group, Alina Rivera, founder and CEO. Yeah, I said, I'd say I know someone. Her breathing picked up. Are you connected to them? She asked, voice shaky. Like personally, Megan, I said gently, can I share something with you? Yes, please, she said, because I am losing my mind right now. The corporate buyout they mentioned, I said, that would be my company. I own Ridgeline. High timber included. The line went dead silent, like I had to pull my phone away and check if the call had dropped. You own it, she finally said. Like the whole group, all the lodges? Yes, I said. All 7 properties in this region, plus a few out of state. Oh my God, she whispered again. Your family made it sound like you were, I don't know, struggling, like you were the one who couldn't get it together. They told me you have issues with reality and were always chasing unrealistic dreams. Yeah, I said with a dry laugh, that sounds like them. I am so sorry, she blurted. If I had known, Megan, you didn't do anything wrong, I cut in. You were respectful, you called me yourself. Honestly, you handled this better than my own family. She went quiet again. So what now? She asked. Because I can't exactly tell them, hey, the sister you kicked out just got your fancy mountain lodge taken away. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the skyline again, lights starting to blink on as the afternoon turned toward evening. Now, I said, we do this the right way. How? She asked. First, I said, we're going to get everyone on the same call, you, me, and my brother. There are some miscommunications that need clearing up. Okay, Megan said slowly. You want everyone on the same call? Yep, I said. You, me, and Daniel, maybe Madison if she's around. We'll keep it calm, no screaming match, I promise. Are you sure? She asked. Because this feels very personal. I'm just the planner. You're also the only person in this whole situation who's actually been professional, I said. You deserve to hear the truth too. She let out a tiny nervous laugh. Wow, she said. This is officially the wildest job I've ever had. Congratulations, I said. You're gonna have a great story after this. Okay, she said. Give me 10 minutes. I'll get Daniel on the line and I'll call you back on 3-way. Perfect, I said. Talk soon. I hung up and rubbed my temples. My brain was half business mode, half little sister mode. The business side of me was like clear communication, controlled tone, no emotional overshare. Handle this like any other problem. The little sister part of me wanted to drive to my parents' house, ring the doorbell and say, hey, remember the daughter you said isn't family? She just locked your son out of his dream lodge. How's everybody doing? Instead, I stood up and walked over to the huge window. From the 27th floor, the city looked calm. It was a lie, obviously, but a pretty one. Zara poked her head into my office. You good, boss? She asked. You've got that I want to fight God and also account receivables face. I snorted. Just family stuff, I said. The usual? Yikes, she said. Want coffee, a shot, a therapist? I got you on 2 out of 3. Coffee first, I said. We'll save the therapist for after this call. She gave me a little salute and disappeared. My phone rang again. Megan, I said. Hey, she said, sounding more tense now. I've got Daniel on hold in another line. Are you ready if I merge the calls? Yeah, I said. Let's do it. There was a click, a short pause, then another voice joined in. What's going on? Daniel snapped. Megan, please tell me you fixed this venue thing. Madison is freaking out. My parents are freaking out. I don't have time for games. Hi, Danny, I said. The silence on the line was instant and heavy. Alina, he said. Why is she here, Megan? Megan swallowed hard. Daniel, please just listen for a second, she said. I thought it was important to have everyone on the same call because this is layered. I told you I don't want her involved in this wedding, he said. We were very clear. My parents were very clear. Daniel, I said, keeping my voice calm, relax. I'm not trying to crash your party. Megan called me earlier to let me know I'd been taken off the guest list. Good, he said. I'm glad she followed instructions. The last thing we need is you showing up and making the day about you. Megan made a small sound like she'd just swallowed a bee. I took a slow breath. I agreed with you on one thing, I said. No drama, weddings should be peaceful, but now you've got something else on your plate. Yeah, I do, he said. Our venue just bylaid 5 days before the wedding. You have no idea how serious this is, Alina. So please stay out of it. Daniel, Megan cut in, this is connected. That's why I thought we needed to talk together. What do you mean connected? He said. The lodge said it was some corporate thing. Some big shot decision, not their call. Exactly, she said. The general manager told me the owner of Ridgeline Hospitality made the final decision to cancel. No alternate dates, no transfer to other locations. A full block, so call them, he said. Throw money at it, I don't care, a check will fix it, it always does. It's not that simple, she said carefully. Because the owner is on the phone, I said, cutting in. Right now, another silence. Then he laughed, short, mean. Yeah, okay, he said. Alina, what are you doing? Playing pretend CEO again? We're adults now, that bit isn't cute anymore. Daniel, Megan said, her voice small but firm. She's not joking? I walked back to my desk and sat down, feeling that familiar switch flip inside me. Big sister mode off, CEO mode on. Danny, I said. Do you know the full name of the company that owns High Timber Lodge? No, he said. Why would I? That's not my lane. Ridgeline Hospitality Group, I said. Rivera, Lawson and Associates was the original concept name. I simplified it later. I founded it 8 years ago. Stop, he snapped. Seriously, this whole thing is not funny. Megan, why are you even entertaining this? Because, Daniel, she said, sounding shaken. I called the general manager after our last call. I asked him to confirm ownership. He said, and I quote, Miss Alina Rivera is our sole owner and executive chair. All cancellation decisions came directly from her office. You could have heard a dust particle breathe. Finally, Daniel said, that's not possible. She works at some small office. She barely gets by. She still drives that old car, Daniel, I said gently. I live in the penthouse above this office. The old car you've seen. That's my weekend car I keep at mom and dad's for when I visit. Most of the time, I use a driver because I'm working during commutes. This is insane, he muttered. You can't just claim to own everything. I didn't claim anything, I said. Mason, the general manager, confirmed it. You probably paid him to say that, Daniel snapped. Megan jumped back in. Daniel, can I read you the exact wording from the call? She said, flipping through papers. I wrote it down. Fine, he said. Go ahead. Due to a directive from ownership, she read, we are unable to host the Lawson/Carter wedding at High Timber Lodge or at any of our Ridgeline locations. The decision came personally from Miss Rivera's office. He exhaled sharply. Ridgeline has how many places? He asked. In this region, I said. 7, High Timber, Lakeview Summit, Cedar Hollow, Aspen Ridge, Stone Creek, Pinecrest, and the new one near the national park. Plus 3 more out of state. Wait, he said. So the engagement party we did at that lake place, Lakeview Summit, I said. Mine. And the brunch mom wouldn't stop bragging about, he said slowly. That exclusive lodge nobody else can get into, Stone Creek, I said. Also mine. Megan let out a soft wow under her breath. So you're telling me, Daniel said, his voice weirdly flat now, that the sister I was told is irresponsible and unrealistic, owns the venues we've been flexing on social media for a year. Yeah, I said. Pretty much. No, he muttered. No, our parents said you were finally learning to be realistic, that your business ideas didn't really work, that you needed to get a normal job. Well, I said, I tried to tell them about the acquisitions, the expansion, the investors. Every time I started, the subject got changed, or I got told I was being dramatic. Eventually, I just stopped. So you let us think you were broke, he said. You let us invite you or not invite you to things while you were secretly sitting on top of all this? I let you think whatever you wanted, I said. You all seemed committed to that version with or without me. Megan cleared her throat gently. She said, I know this is a lot, but can I ask a practical question? Go ahead, I said. Is there any chance, she said carefully, we can reverse the cancellation or move the event to one of your other lodges? I'm trying to figure out if we have any options here at all. Not at Ridgeline, I said. That decision is final, Daniel exploded. Are you kidding me? He shouted. You're seriously going to tank my wedding over a guest list? Grow up, Alina, I stayed calm. I didn't tank your wedding, I said. I canceled my participation in every way, your words, not mine. You didn't want me at your family events. I'm just honoring that boundary. That's petty, he snapped. That's consistent, I said. You said I'm not family, okay? Then my properties don't host your family. That's insane logic, he said. Is it? I asked. Silence again. Megan jumped in softly. Daniel, it is consistent, she said. You can't say she's out of the family and then expect to use her resources like she's not. He didn't answer. Look, I said, this is a mess. No one's pretending it's not, but I'm not here to ruin your wedding. I'm here to tell the truth and set some boundaries. Boundaries, he repeated like it was a foreign word. Yes, I said. Like I'm not going to keep letting people say I'm not family and then turn around and treat my work like a free buffet. Megan exhaled slowly. Okay, she said, so we're here, situation is what it is, no Ridgeline venues, 5 days, 200 guests, what do we do? You tell me, Daniel said bitterly. You're the realistic one. I have an idea, I said. Oh God, he muttered, here we go. Relax, I said, this one actually helps you. Megan perked up. I'm listening, she said. I have another property, I said. It's not part of the Ridgeline portfolio, it's separate. Private? What kind of property? Megan asked, pen already scratching in the background. A ranch, I said. Out near Timber Falls, 150 acres. Modern main lodge, guest cabins, open meadow, ridge with a view that makes people cry. I use it for retreats and private events. It's not listed anywhere, no public bookings. Hold on, Daniel cut in. Are you talking about that ranch Grandpa used to drive past? The one he said some mystery investor bought? Yeah, I said. Hi, mystery investor. Megan let out a soft laugh. If that's the Timber Falls Ridge estate I'm thinking of, she said slowly, that place is insane. Like magazine cover insane. It's been upgraded a bit, I said. We added a glass pavilion last year, seats 300, overlooks the valley, it's my favorite place on earth. And you're just offering that? Daniel asked, suspicious. Not just, I said, I'd cover the whole thing. Venue, catering, staff, transport from the nearest airport, you get the full dream wedding you wanted. Honestly, it'll be nicer than high timber. Why? He asked, voice sharp. Why would you do that after everything? After my words, after mom and dad, after the guest list mess? Because despite what you said, I replied, you're still my brother, and Madison didn't do anything wrong. She shouldn't have her wedding destroyed because our family can't communicate like adults. Megan sounded stunned. Miss Rivera, I don't even know what to say, she said. That's beyond generous. There's one condition, I said. I knew it, Daniel muttered. There it is. It's simple, I said. If my ranch hosts your wedding, I want an actual invitation, like a real one with my name on it. Not if you must show up, sit in the back. The silence this time was longer. Megan didn't say a word. Finally, I heard Daniel blow out a breath. Of course you're invited, he said quietly. Alina, you're my sister. I said a lot of crap I shouldn't have said. Yeah, I said softly. You did. I was stressed, he said. Angry, listening to mom and dad more than I should have. That's not an excuse, but that's where it came from. I know, I said. We can unpack all that later. Right now, we need to get you two married. Megan jumped back into planner mode like someone flipped a switch. Okay, she said, energy rushing back into her voice. Tell me about the ranch. How many guest cabins? Is there power for lighting? What's the catering situation? Parking? Transport? Do you have an events team already or am I building from scratch? I smiled despite everything. That's the Megan I met earlier, I said. We've got 12 guest cabins plus a main lodge that sleeps 24. Plenty of power. Commercial kitchen. In-house chef if he's free. We can bring in extra staff from Ridgeline off the clock. I've got a grounds crew that can help set up. There's a helipad if you want to flex, but we can also shuttle people in on buses from town. Megan actually laughed. A helipad, she said. Of course. Why not? I'm not promising perfection, I said. This is last minute, but we can absolutely make something beautiful. I can make it work, she said. I've pulled off miracles with way less. This might actually turn into the best wedding I've ever planned. Don't oversell it yet, I said. We still have to get through my parents. Daniel groaned. Yeah, he said, that's gonna be fun. Listen, I said. Let me coordinate with my ranch manager. I'll have Zara send you the layout, logistics, everything. Megan, I'll put you in a group chat with him. You two can handle the on-the-ground details. Deal, she said. And Alina, yeah, thank you, she said. Not just for the venue, for actually being honest. I've heard a lot of family drama in this business, but this one's different. You're handling it like a grown-up. Most people would have just pulled the plug and walked away. I thought about it, I admitted, but that's not who I want to be. We started wrapping up. I'll email you in an hour, Megan said. Daniel, I'll send an updated plan once I've seen the ranch specs. Okay, he said, sounding dazed. Yeah, sure. She dropped off the call. It was just me and Daniel now, for the first time in months. Alina, he said quietly. Do you really own all of that? Yes, I said. All the lodges, he said. The ranch, the office, the penthouse. Yes, I repeated. How, he asked. Like genuinely how? It started small, I said. I bought a rundown motel my second year out of college, flipped it, refinanced, bought another. I learned everything I could. I worked like a maniac. I took risks that made people call me crazy. And slowly it snowballed. Why didn't you tell us when things started taking off? He asked. Because every time I tried, I said, I got shut down. Mom would say, that's nice, dear, and then go back to talking about someone else's promotion. Dad would tell me to be realistic and get a steady job with benefits. He was quiet again. I just thought you were chasing, I don't know, fantasies, he said. They kept saying you didn't understand real life. I understood real life too well, I said. I just understood it differently than they did. He swallowed, and I could hear the sound in my ear. I'm sorry, he said, for the wedding invite, for the way I talked to you at dinner, for letting them paint you as the messed up one. I'm not innocent either, I said. I let you all keep the story you wanted. It was easier than fighting every time. Still, he said, you didn't deserve what we did. That's probably true, I said softly. But we're here now, you're getting married in 5 days, let's survive that first, then we can try to fix the rest. Are you really okay with paying for everything? He asked. Ranch, staff, transportation, all of it? Danny, I said, I could afford 10 weddings, this is nothing, and it's not about flexing, it's about showing up, even when you didn't show up for me. He exhaled a shaky laugh. You're way better than we deserved, he said. Yeah, I said, I know. We both laughed at that, tired but real. I'll send you the new invite list, he said. And Alina, yeah, I want you in the front row, he said, not in the back. Not on the sidelines, you've carried way more than we realized. You deserve to actually see what you're helping build. For the first time that day, my chest loosened. I'll be there, I said. Just don't make me wear something ugly, I'm serious. I will walk out. He laughed, a real laugh this time. No promises, he said. Madison's in charge of colors. God help us all, I said. We hung up. Zara walked back in with my coffee. How'd it go? She asked, handing me the mug. I got disinvited, reinvited, canceled their lodge, gave them a ranch, and maybe kinda shoved the truth in their faces, I said. She blinked. So, a chill, normal Tuesday, she said. Exactly, I said, finally letting myself smile. Just another day being the unrealistic sister who owns their dream venue. 2 days before the wedding, my parents called, first mom, then dad. I let it go to voicemail the first time. Second time, I picked up. Alina, Mom said before I could even say hello. We just saw the pictures Megan sent of the new venue. Where is this place? It's ridiculous. Hi, Mom, I said. Good to hear your voice too, she huffed. Don't be a smart aleck, she said. Seriously, where is this ranch, some billionaire's property? Megan said it's private and not normally bookable. It's outside Timber Falls, I said. About 30 minutes from town. Megan has the exact address. And how did she find it? Mom demanded. High Timber drops us and suddenly you have this miracle location. We were panicking, you know. I know, I said calmly. Megan told me there was a problem. I helped solve it. Helped solve it, she repeated. Alina, this place looks like something celebrities use. We can't afford that. How are we paying for this? We're not talking about money tonight, I said. Everything's covered. You don't need to stress about it. Covered by who? She asked. Megan said a friend of the family. What does that even mean? Is this one of your big ideas again? Mom, I said, trust me, the logistics are handled. Focus on picking your dress and calming down your blood pressure. You'll love it when you see it. She went quiet for a second. I don't like it when you're vague, she said. It feels like you're hiding things. You have no idea, I thought. I'm trying to keep this simple, I said. We can talk about the rest after the wedding, I promise. She sighed dramatically. Fine, she said. But if I find out later that you did something outrageous, I will never hear the end of it from your father. Honestly. That sounds like a Tuesday, I said. Despite herself, she snorted. Just be on your best behavior, she said. No drama, no speeches. This day is about Daniel and Madison. Totally agree, I said. No drama from me? Good, she said. We'll see. We hung up. 10 minutes later, Dad called. I considered ignoring it, picked up anyway. Alina, he said, your mother tells me you had something to do with this new place. Hi, Dad, I said. Yes, I helped. This place, he said, looks extremely expensive. I don't like mysteries when it comes to finances. I know, I said. Like I told Mom, you don't need to worry about the cost. It's taken care of. By who? He asked. By someone with resources, I said. Dad, you're getting the outcome you want without dipping into your retirement. Can we just accept that as a win for now? He grunted. You always talk in circles, he said. That's the problem, unrealistic talk, grand plans. I'm not pitching you a startup, I said calmly. I'm literally giving you a venue for your son's wedding. There's no such thing as free, he said. I hope you understand that. I understand more than you think, I said. But again, we can talk about all that later. Right now, I just want you to enjoy the fact that your son's wedding didn't end up in some strip mall banquet hall. He exhaled. Your brother says you'll be attending, he said. Front row, apparently. Yeah, I said, if that's all right with you. He paused. I didn't push for you to be removed from the list, he said. Your mother thought it would be simpler. Simple isn't always better, I said, but I'm not trying to relitigate that right now. You've always been difficult, he said, always doing things your own way. But if you're going to show up respectfully. I almost laughed. Don't worry, I said. I won't stand up and shout, I own this place, bow before me. I would hope not, he said, missing the joke entirely. We hung up with him still suspicious and me still vague. One more day, then the wedding, then the reckoning. The day before the wedding, I drove back out to the ranch to stay overnight. I didn't want to be rushing in the morning. Eli met me in the driveway again. We're almost ready, he said. Want the quick tour or the full brag? Full brag, I said. I need to see exactly how ridiculous we're being. He walked me through everything. The ceremony meadow now fully set, white chairs, the arch-finished twined branches, soft flowers, a fabric drape that caught the light perfectly. The pavilion transformed, round tables with soft linens, candles in glass cylinders, greenery down the center of each table, an open dance floor leading to the glass wall with the view beyond it like a painting, string lights everywhere, not too much, just enough to make it feel like the stars moved in closer. You did good, I said quietly, like really good. Oh, I know, he said. This is going in my please promote me folder. We walked down to the lower fire pit area, lounge furniture, blankets, little lanterns ready to be lit. I could almost picture it, guests in dresses and suits, heels kicked off, laughing around the fire, the sky huge overhead. Think they'll like it? I asked. If they don't, he said, I'll personally escort them back to the parking lot. I laughed. Nah, I said, we're trying to be better people now, remember? Speak for yourself, he said. I'm just a guy with a clipboard and a golf cart. That night I stayed in one of the cabins. I sat on the porch with a blanket around my shoulders, watching the sky go from blue to pink to dark. My phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. Danny, Madison won't stop talking about tomorrow. She's obsessed with the ranch. Just thought you should know. Then a second text. Danny, also, thank you again. I still don't fully understand how you got here, but I'm starting to get how wrong I was. I stared at the message for a bit, then I typed back me. You can make it up to me by not crying too ugly during the vows, that's my job. He replied with a laughing emoji and a middle finger emoji. Sibling language, fluent since childhood. I put my phone down, leaned back in the chair and watched the stars come out. Tomorrow they'd all be here, my parents, extended family, people who still thought I was barely making rent. People who didn't know the ground they'd be walking on had my name on it. Tomorrow would be about Daniel and Madison. The day after that, that's when we'd sit down as a family. No more guessing, no more assumptions, just the truth. Finally. Wedding day, I wake up before my alarm. For a second I forget where I am, then I see the wooden beams on the ceiling. The pine trees outside the window, the faint smell of coffee drifting up from the main lodge. Right, the ranch, my ranch. My brother's wedding. I shower, pull on leggings and a sweatshirt and walk down to the lodge in socks and boots like some low-budget CEO camper. Eli's already there, half-caffeinated, checking lists with a walkie-talkie on his hip. You're up early, he says, glancing at me over a clipboard. Says the man who's been awake since, what, 4 a.m.? I ask. 3:40, he says, don't disrespect my grind. I look around, staff moving quietly. Tables getting their final touches, bartender unpacking glassware, DJ testing sound levels so low they're basically just polite vibrations. You good? Eli asks me. Yeah, I say, weirdly calm actually. He squints at me. You have the same face you had the day the Ridgeline deal closed, he says. The I'm fine, everything's fine, I might vomit later face. Love that for me, I say. Super flattering, he grins. Relax, he says, we've got the event. You just have to survive the family. Don't remind me, I mutter. By mid-morning, the place looks like a dream. The meadow is full-on Pinterest. The arch is perfect. The chairs are aligned. The flowers are soft and pretty, not trying too hard. The pavilion looks even better than last night. Sun pouring in through the glass, tables set, soft napkins, menus printed. The cake set up in a corner like a quiet show-off. Around noon, the first shuttles arrive from town. Guests step out and just stop. You can see it hit them. The air, the quiet, the view. Wow, I hear one guy say. Okay, this is not the Marriott Ballroom. I stay slightly to the side, letting Megan and her team direct traffic. Ceremonies down this path, she tells guests. Restrooms inside the lodge. Drinks are after the ceremony, not before. Please resist your inner chaos. Most people laugh and follow instructions. I spot a few familiar faces. An aunt who's always worried about me. A cousin who flaunts his job title like a brand logo. Some family friends who have known me since braces and bad bangs. They pass me, some nodding hello, some not recognizing me in the crowd yet. Then the last shuttle pulls in. My parents. Dad steps down first. Suit a little too stiff, tie too tight. He looks around slowly, head tilted back, eyes scanning everything. Mom comes after him. Hair done, dress flattering, necklace she only wears for big things. They both just stare at the lodge, at the meadow, at the ridge. Then my mom whispers, "Oh my God." Megan walks up, cheerful and smooth. "Mr. and Mrs. Lawson," she asks. "I'm Megan, your planner. I'm so happy you're here. Let me show you where you'll be seated for the ceremony." Mom touches her arm lightly. "This place," she says. "How did you find this? It's unbelievable." Megan glances at me for half a second. "It's a private property I have access to," she says smoothly. "Let's just say we got very, very lucky." Dad turns almost a full circle, taking it all in. "This must be costing a fortune," he mutters. "I don't see how this is, Dad," I cut in gently, stepping closer. "Hi," he looks at me. For a second his face does that thing where he's trying to figure out which version of me he's talking to. The child, the difficult daughter, the adult he doesn't fully understand. "Alina," he says. "You're early." "I stayed here last night," I say. "Helped with some things." Mom frowns. "With what?" she asks. "You're not working today, are you? You know how we feel about you working through family events." "I'm not working," I say. "I'm helping, there's a difference." She looks past me. "Just tell me one thing," she says. "This isn't one of your we'll figure it out later situations, is it? Is this place paid for?" "Yes," I say. "Completely, no debt, no drama. No surprise bill, it's taken care of." "By who?" Dad asks again, stubborn. I give him the same answer. "By someone who can afford it," I say. "Can we please just enjoy today for once?" He doesn't like that. But he also doesn't have a better option. Mom's eyes are already glistening, but in a good way this time. "It's beautiful," she says finally. "Really beautiful." "I know," I say. "And we haven't even lit the candles yet." The ceremony is honestly perfect. Guests settle into the chairs, soft music, the breeze cooperating for once. Daniel stands at the front next to his best man, adjusting his tie for the millionth time. He catches my eye just for a second, his face relaxes. I don't wave or do anything dramatic, I just nod. "We're good." The bridal party walks in. Kids drop petals, people smile and sniffle, then Madison appears. Dressed simple and elegant. Hair half up, half down, expression somewhere between "oh my God" and "this is everything." When she reaches Daniel, the whole ridge goes quiet. The officiant talks about love and partnership and long-term weathering of storms. Classic speeches. But somehow they don't sound cliché. When it's time for vows, Daniel pulls out a piece of paper. His hands shake just a little. "Madison," he says, voice already thick. "I thought I knew what love was, then I met you. And I realized I'd been walking around with the volume turned down my whole life." She laughs quietly. He keeps going. He talks about her kindness, her steadiness. The way she makes him better and doesn't let him get away with lazy thinking. At one point he says, "You see the best in me even when I can't see it myself," and I glance over at my parents. Yeah, they're crying hard. Madison's vows are just as good. She talks about how he shows up even when it's messy, how he listens, how he grew a ton in 1 year just by admitting when he was wrong. That one hits different for him. For me, for my parents, they exchange rings, they kiss. Everyone claps. Just like that, we're at the part where the tension drops and the party starts. While guests move toward the lodge deck for cocktails, I hang back at the edge of the meadow. Eli walks up and bumps my shoulder with his. "You crying?" he asks quietly. "A little," I say. "Shut up." "Can't," he says. "It's in my job description." We both watch as the newlyweds get mobbed with hugs and selfies. My mom and dad hug them like they're afraid they'll float off into the clouds if they let go. "Hey," Eli says. "Heads up, your parents are drifting your way. You want backup or are you good?" "I'm good," I say. "If I start screaming, just turn up the music." "You got it," he says and melts back into the operational chaos. My parents approach. Mom dabs at her eyes with a tissue that has absolutely lost the fight. "Can you believe it?" she says. "My baby boy married." "I can believe it," I say. "He picked a good one." Dad nods, still a little glassy-eyed. "This view," he says, looking out over the meadow, "this whole place. I've never seen anything like it up close. I only ever saw this kind of thing on TV." "Yeah," I say, "it's special." "Where did you say you found it again?" Mom asks. "I don't remember you mentioning it." I look at her, at him. At the guests laughing, drinking, taking pictures. At this exact moment, I say, "I'm just going to say I know the owner and leave it at that." Mom rolls her eyes. "There you go again," she says, always mysterious. "Always vague," Dad sighs. "Let it go, Maria," he says. "She helped, that's what matters." That's new. I almost comment on it, decide not to, there will be time later. Cocktail hour passes in a blur, servers walking around with trays. Little bites of fancy food, people collecting drinks like Pokemon. I get cornered by an aunt. "Elena," she says, clacking toward me in heels too tall for grass. "Long time, dear." "Hi, Tia Carmen," I say. She air kisses the air somewhere near my cheek. "We were all so worried when we heard about the venue," she says. "But this is another level. You must be thrilled someone in your circle managed to find it." "Yeah," I say. "Very lucky," she leans in. "Your father told us you've been doing better lately," she says in a tone people usually use to talk about rehab. "More realistic, staying out of trouble, that kind of thing." "It suits you." I sip my drink to avoid saying what I want to say. "I'm glad he thinks that," I say. "It's always good when parents feel calmer." She nods in that fake sage way. "You know," she says, "not everyone is cut out for big dreams. Some people are meant for simple lives, stability, there's no shame in that." Simple, stable. I look out at the lodge, at the staff, at the layout, at everything I built. "Yeah," I say, voice weirdly calm. "Some people just like building mountains in the background and letting everyone else pretend they were there first." She blinks. "I don't know what that means," she says. "It's okay," I say. "You don't have to." Megan appears at my elbow like some kind of event fairy. "We're moving into the reception in 15, she says. "I need to steal your aunt for a seating question." "Oh," Tia says. "Duty calls." She moves off, happy to be needed. Megan gives me a quick look. "You okay?" she mouths. I nod, mostly. Reception, the pavilion glows. By now, the sun is low enough that the sky is doing its dramatic gradient thing. Blue to pink to gold. Inside, the candles are lit. People gasp a little when they walk in. "Are you seeing this?" someone says behind me. "This is wow." Guests find their tables. The DJ cues the music. Daniel and Madison make their grand entrance as Mr. and Mrs. Lawson. People cheer like they're at a championship game. Dinner is served. I sit at a front row family table, not the head table, but not shoved in the back either. A big improvement from not invited, so I'll take it. To my left is my mom, to my right Daniel's childhood friend. Dad sits across from me next to an uncle who owns a plumbing company and talks in statistics. Food arrives. Perfectly cooked steak, vegetarian option that actually looks edible, potatoes that could solve world peace. During a quiet moment, Dad puts down his fork. "Elena," he says, "this food is something else. This whole place, whoever set this up knows what they're doing." "They do," I say. "Eli's amazing, so is the chef." He studies me over his glasses. You sound like you know them well, he says. I smile. You could say that, I say. He exhales sharply through his nose. I wish, he says slowly, you had used your talents on something straightforward, something normal, a good steady office job, but I can't argue with this. He gestures around. You were part of saving this day, whether I understand how or not. That is the closest thing to a compliment from him in years. It lands a little sideways, but it lands. Thanks, I say. That means more than you think. He looks like he wants to say more, then someone clinks a glass with a spoon and it's speech time. Speeches, best man first. He tells some wild story about Daniel in high school that makes Madison turn bright red and their friends howl. Maid of honor next. She makes half the women at the table cry, then it's my parents' turn. They stand together, Mom takes the mic first. My baby, she says, already emotional. Daniel, from the moment they handed you to me, I knew you were going to be stubborn and impossible, and I was right. Everyone laughs. But I also knew you'd be kind and loyal and so full of love. Seeing you with Madison confirms every good thing I ever thought about you. She says nice things about Madison too. Warm, honest, mother-in-law gold. Then she hands the mic to Dad. He clears his throat. Marriage, he says, is not about big gestures, it's about small constants. Being there when it's boring, showing up when it's inconvenient. Learning to say we instead of me. He glances around the room. We haven't always been perfect at that as a family, he says. We've hurt each other, misunderstood each other, made assumptions that were not fair. My heart kicks. I see Mom's eyes flick in my direction. But Dad continues, what I saw today, this ceremony, this place. He gestures out to the glass walls, reminded me that sometimes you get a second chance to do things right. To show up better. He looks straight at me now, right at me. For our kids, he says slowly, we want nothing but the best, even when we don't always understand how it comes to them. Today, I am very grateful for everyone who made this possible. Especially those who went above and beyond, even after we didn't treat them as well as we should have. He holds my gaze a second too long. The room claps. People raise glasses, I swallow hard. Okay, so maybe the message is starting to land, even if they don't know the whole story yet. Later, after the first dance, the parent dances and a chaotic line dance that should probably be illegal, I step outside for some air. The stars are blazing, you don't see this in the city, too much noise, too much light. Out here it feels like the sky is actually trying. I'm standing near the edge of the deck when I hear footsteps. Hey, Madison says, stepping up next to me. You hiding? Just taking a break, I say. Your side of the family has some serious cardio on that dance floor. She laughs. Tell me about it, she says. I almost lost a bridesmaid in that last circle. We stand there for a second, then she bumps my shoulder with hers. You know, she says quietly, Daniel told me, about you, about the lodges, about this ranch. I glance at her. Did he? I ask. Yeah, she says. He was honestly embarrassed, like deeply. He kept saying, how did I not see any of it? How did I let myself believe the worst version of her? That sounds like him, I say. She turns more fully to face me. When I met you, she says, I thought, wow, she's quiet. And then I thought, she looks like she knows something the rest of us don't. But your family made it sound like you were flaky or irresponsible. I hate that I listened. You didn't know me, I say. You only had their version to go on, I get it. She shakes her head. It doesn't make it okay, she says. But I want you to know I am so grateful you didn't just say, screw you and walk away. You could have, trust me, I say. That option was on the table for a minute. I bet, she says. But instead, I got the kind of wedding I never even dared to dream about. Because you're you, that, I say, and because Eli doesn't sleep. She laughs, then gets serious again. When we do the family talk tomorrow, she says, I'm going to be on your side not just because you're rich, but because you've been gracious in a way most people couldn't be, and they need to see that. You don't have to pick sides, I say. I'm not picking sides, she says. I'm picking truth. And this version, your version, feels a whole lot closer to it. Before I can answer, the DJ calls everyone back in. Cake cutting, we head inside. Sometime after midnight, after the cake, the bouquet toss, and a very competitive dance-off, people start drifting toward the shuttles again. The older folks leave first, then the couples with kids. Finally, it's mostly the younger crowd, the wedding party, and immediate family. I'm standing near the door when Dad approaches me again. He looks tired, but not in a bad way. Walk with me, he says. It's not really a question. We step outside away from the music. The night is cooler now. We walk toward the edge of the deck just like I did with Madison. For a while, he doesn't say anything, then. This place, he says quietly, reminds me of those travel shows your mother watches. The ones where they visit elite destinations we always said we'd never see in real life. I nod. When Megan called about the venue cancellation, he continues, I thought we were done. I was already picturing a cheap hall, fluorescent lights, sad buffet. We got lucky, I say. He looks at me. No, he says. We got you. That hits harder than I expect. I swallow. Dad, I've been thinking all night, he says, cutting me off. About the things I've said to you, told you to be realistic. Told people you didn't understand stability. He shakes his head. I don't know what you've built, he says. Not yet, but whatever it is, it's not small. I can see that now just by looking around. We stand there for a second. My throat feels tight. You don't have to understand everything tonight, I say. This day was for Daniel and Madison. The rest we can talk about tomorrow. He nods slowly. Yes, he says. Tomorrow at brunch we should talk as a family, honestly. For once, I'd like that, I say. He looks out at the meadow one more time. Whoever owns this place, he says, must be very proud. I look out at it too, the lights, the pavilion, the last guests dancing inside. Yeah, I say softly, I think she is. That night, after everyone's gone and the staff start the slow, careful teardown, I sit on the lodge steps with a mug of tea in my hands. I'm exhausted, but it's a good exhaustion. My phone buzzes. A text from Megan. Megan, you pulled off a miracle. For real, this is going in my you can't make this SHT up file. Another from Eli. Eli, next time you want a whole wedding in 5 days, I'm charging emotional support tax. Just FYI. And one more from Daniel. Danny, best day of my life. Honestly, thank you. Tomorrow we tell them everything. Yeah, I type back me. Yeah, tomorrow we stop playing pretend. I set my phone down. The stars are still out. The night is still. The ranch is quiet again, like it's exhaling. Tomorrow morning, my parents will sit across from me at a long table. And for the first time, they'll hear the real version of their unrealistic daughter. No more hiding, no more shrinking. No more being treated like the family cautionary tale. Tomorrow, I stop letting them define who I am and start showing them who I've actually been this whole time. The morning after the wedding, the ranch feels like it has a hangover. Not the messy kind, the soft one. Empty chairs, a few stray napkins, flower petals scattered like someone hit pause on a celebration. The sky is clear, the air is cold enough to wake you up without coffee. I'm already dressed when there's a knock on my cabin door. It's Eli. You alive? He asks. Or do I need to drag you out with the leaf blower? I'm good, I say. You. Everything hurts, he says. But in a satisfying way, like I got hit by a truck full of compliments. I laugh. Brunch is still on schedule, I ask. Yep, he says. Buffet set up on the terrace. Chef's outdoing himself. Your family's already floating around the lodge like confused ducks. So just a normal Sunday, I say. He taps the doorframe. You sure you want to do this today? He asks. You could let them live in the fantasy a little longer. I've let them live there for 8 years, I say. Lease is up. He smirks. All right then, he says. Go evict them. The brunch buffet looks ridiculous. Pancakes stacked like architecture, egg dishes in big warm pans, fresh fruit, pastries, bacon for days. People wander around with plates, sleep in their eyes, smiles still soft from last night. I hang back at first, letting everybody load up. Eventually, I grab a coffee and a small plate and slide into a seat at the far end of the long terrace table. Megan waves at me from another table, mouthed, good luck, then pretends to be hyper-focused on seating old cousins who complain for sport. My parents arrive last. Mom's in a simple blouse and slacks, hair pulled back. Dad's in a polo shirt he only wears on weekends or holidays when he's pretending to relax. They sit across from me. Daniel and Madison sit beside them, angled slightly my way, like they're ready to run interference if needed. For a few minutes, it's just clinking forks and quiet sounds. The weather is too perfect. The view is too pretty. The food is too good, it's almost enough to make you forget what's coming. Almost. Dad sets his fork down. So, he says, wiping his mouth with a napkin, I think it's time we talk about everything. Madison glances at Daniel. He nods. Yeah, Daniel says, we probably should. Mom looks between us. I feel like everyone knows something I don't, she says, and I hate that feeling. I take a breath. Okay, I say. If we're doing this, I want to start with one thing. They all look at me. I didn't plan this weekend to make anyone feel small, I say, or to flex. This was about your wedding. I nod at Daniel and Madison, and about making sure it didn't crash and burn. That's it. Madison reaches under the table and squeezes my hand. Dad nods. Fair, he says. We appreciate that, but now we need to understand how any of this was even possible. Because Alina, he gestures around. All this, he says, does not look like something a struggling dreamer put together. Mom flinches at his choice of words. That's what we've been told, she says softly. That you struggle, that you never land, that you don't understand stability. Maybe we were wrong. You were, I say, not mean, just true. Daniel lets out a breath like he's been holding it since the ceremony. Okay, he says. Elle, do you want to explain? Or do you want me to start with what I know? I'll take it, I say. You can fill in the gaps if I forget anything. He nods. I set my coffee down. Before I say any numbers or business terms, I start. I need you to understand something basic. Just because I didn't talk about my work doesn't mean I didn't have any. Mom looks defensive already. We never said you didn't work, she says. You said I was unrealistic, I cut in gently. You said I needed to grow up. You told people I was still finding myself while I was literally negotiating multi-million-dollar contracts. Dad sits back, eyes narrowing slightly. What contracts? He asks. Ridgeline Hospitality, I say. For starters. His forehead wrinkles. The lodge company, he asks. The one that canceled on us, I nod. Yes, I say. They didn't cancel on you. I did. The table goes quiet. The sounds of other people talking around us sort of fade. Mom blinks. You, she says slowly, canceled your brother's wedding venue? I canceled my properties, I say. Big difference. Your properties, Dad repeats. What does that mean? It means, I say, keeping my voice steady, that I own Ridgeline Hospitality Group. The company that runs High Timber Lodge, Lakeview Summit, Cedar Hollow, Stone Creek, all of them. 10 properties total. 7 in this state, 3 out of state. Mom's mouth falls open. Excuse me, she says. You own them, as in they're yours? I bought the first 3 about 3 years ago, I say, expanded after that. I've been quietly acquiring, renovating, and running them while you've been telling people I still don't understand real life. Dad looks like someone unplugged his brain and plugged it back in wrong. That chain, he says slowly. Those places we couldn't even afford to book for one night, you own them. Yes, I say. And when Megan told me my own family said I wasn't family and wasn't needed at this celebration, I made a call. I told my GM we don't host events for people who say I'm not family. That's why the lodge canceled you. Mom's cheeks go flushed. You embarrassed us, she stammers. You made us look like fools. Mom, I say, you asked a wedding planner to remove your daughter from the guest list because I wasn't family anymore. You did that first. I just matched the energy. She opens her mouth, closes it. Dad takes off his glasses and wipes them even though they don't need it. I don't understand, he says. Where did you get that kind of money? You're talking about, what, tens of millions? Try higher, Daniel says quietly. Like a lot higher. They both look at him. Do you know about this? Dad demands. Daniel nods. She told me after the lodge canceled, he says. I didn't believe her either. Then Megan conference called the GM and he confirmed it. Alina is Ridgeline's owner. He said the acquisition was over $180 million for the chain. Mom grabs the edge of the table. 180, she whispers. Closer to 200 now with all the improvements, I say. But yeah, that's the ballpark. Dad stares at me very carefully. And this ranch, he asks, voice low. Who owns this? I look out at the view for a second, then back at him. I do, I say. Timber Falls Ridge is mine. I bought it 4 years ago before Ridgeline. It was my first really big solo project. He looks like he's searching for a crack in my face, some sign that I'm joking. There isn't one. How, he says again. Where did you start? Because last we knew you were in some tiny studio apartment working for a little office. I let you think that, I say. It was easier than explaining the truth to people who'd already decided I was a failure. Madison leans forward. Tell them from the beginning, she says gently. The short version, they need context before you drop the numbers. I nod. Okay, I say, here's the highlight reel. I moved out at 22, I begin. You know that part. What you don't know is that while I was working that little office job you kept making fun of, I was also devouring everything I could about real estate. Commercial loans, hospitality, revenue per room, all of it. Dad frowns. You never said, because every time I mentioned it, I say, you said things like, that's not realistic for people like us, and stopped chasing fantasies. So I stopped sharing. I keep going. I found a rundown roadside motel 3 hours from here, I say. Family owned, old guy wanted out, no one else wanted it, it looked terrible, but the location was gold. The one you said you helped with marketing? Mom asks. That one, I say, I didn't just help, I bought it. With a small loan, my savings, and a private partner I found online who believed in the numbers more than my last name. Dad looks stunned. You never told us, he says. I tried, I say. You told me I was being dramatic and should focus on a steady paycheck. So I kept it to myself. I fixed that motel, I continue, rebranded it, cleaned it, updated rooms. Used basic internet marketing, nothing fancy. Within 18 months, the revenue tripled. I refinanced, bought a second property, a small inn near a ski area. And that one you said you were consulting on, Mom says weakly. Exactly, I say, except I didn't have a little consulting company. I had a holding company. I used that to gather everything under one structure. Eventually, that became Ridgeline Hospitality. I walk them through it. Not every detail, just enough to make the path visible. How I used the first 2 properties as leverage. How I found undervalued lodges and inns. How I negotiated with owners who were burnt out or aging out. I describe staying up late at kitchen tables with sellers, listening to their stories, working out deals that let them retire with dignity while I took on the properties. I tell them about the tech upgrades, the staffing changes, the risk. Sometimes, I say, all I had was a spreadsheet and a prayer, but I ran the numbers until my eyes hurt. I never gambled blindly. I just believed I could pull it off more than I believed I was destined to fail. They listen, really listen. No eye-rolling, no interruptions, no get a real job. It's both incredible and heartbreaking to realize how new that feeling is. By the time I was 29, I say, I had enough equity and cash flow to make a move on something bigger. Ridgeline came up, a group of investors wanted out. The properties were solid, but management was sloppy. I put in a bid, everyone thought I was out of my depth. Were you? Dad asks. Probably, I say, but I did it anyway. I brought in a serious operations team, hired a financial officer who actually loves spreadsheets, put real systems in place. It wasn't easy, I made mistakes, but we fixed things as we went. And now, Mom asks quietly. Now, I say, Ridgeline is profitable, the ranch is paid off. I've got stakes in a couple of tech companies and a logistics firm that handles our supply chain. My portfolio's been growing steadily the last 4 years. I take a sip of coffee. My net worth, I add, because I know it's the question hanging in the air, is somewhere around 360 million. Give or take, the markets move. I stopped obsessing over the exact number. Mom's hand flies to her mouth. Dad just stares. That's not possible, he says. It is, Daniel says softly. And it's real. I checked, asked questions, pushed back. She answered all of it. Madison nods. I've seen the numbers too, she says, the portfolios. The contracts, believe me, if this was fake, I'd be the first one to side-eye it. Mom's eyes fill. All this time, she whispers, we told people you were lost, that you needed prayer and good sense. We told them you never finished anything. That you were difficult. Yeah, I say softly. I heard some of that secondhand. It was fun. Dad rubs his forehead. I told you to get a job at the hardware store instead of chasing big ideas, he says. I told you to stop acting like you were special. I feel something twist in my chest. I never needed to be special, I say. I just needed you not to drag me every time I didn't fit into your picture. Silence. Then Mom looks up. Why, she asks, didn't you say anything when things started going well, when you bought these properties, when you made all this money? Why didn't you tell us? That one actually hurts. I take a breath. Because every time I did try to share something, I say, it went one of 3 ways. I got dismissed, I got told to be realistic, or the topic instantly shifted to someone else. At some point, I stopped asking for a seat at the table. Her eyes are shining now. I thought, she says slowly, if something big happened, if you did something worth talking about, you'd tell us. I assumed silence meant failure. That's the problem, I say gently. You assumed. We sit in that for a minute, the view, the morning air, the quiet weight of all the years between who they thought I was and who I actually became. Finally, Dad clears his throat. And yesterday, he says, the wedding, the ranch, you paid for it? All of it, I say. Venue, staff, food, shuttles, everything as a gift. No strings attached. You can't just throw money at us after Mom starts, but I hold up a hand. It's not about throwing money, I say. It's about using what I have to show up as family, even when family didn't show up great for me. That doesn't erase anything, it just sets a new pattern. Madison nods. She didn't throw anything in anyone's face, she says. She could have, easily, but she just quietly solved problems and kept the focus on us. That's something I won't forget. Daniel looks at our parents. Mom, Dad, he says, you disinvited her to my wedding, you told the planner she's not family. And she still gave us the kind of day people dream about. What does that tell you about who she is? Mom breaks, tears spill over. I was scared, she says, voice shaking. I was scared you would fight, that you would make scenes, that you would embarrass us. I thought it'd be easier if you weren't there, Alina. That's not an excuse, but it's what was in my head. I swallow. I don't start drama at events, I say quietly. I go quiet. I've always gone quiet. She nods, crying harder now. I see that now, she says. We misread you for years. Dad looks at me with something I've almost never seen from him, not just confusion, not just frustration, humility. Alina, he says, I owe you the biggest apology I've ever given anyone. I thought I knew who you were. I thought I was protecting you from yourself, pushing you toward what I believed was safety. Instead, I was blind to what you were building right in front of me. My throat tightens again. I'm not saying you needed to worship me, I say. I just didn't need to be the family disappointment for sport. Madison wipes her cheeks with a napkin. This family, she says gently, is really good at having one person play the mess so no one else has to be. It was you, Alina, they put it all on you, even when it wasn't true. My parents both wince, she's not wrong. I can't undo what we said, Mom whispers. The stories we told about you, but can we fix it? Can we start over? I lean back in my chair, look at each of them, my father still stiff but cracked open. My mother finally seeing me without the old filter. My brother who went from pushing me out to pulling me back in. Madison who walked into this mess and chose honesty. Yeah, I say softly. I want that. But I need a few things if we're going to move forward. Dad nods. Name them, he says, please. First, I say, no more assumptions. If you don't know what I'm doing, just ask. And then actually listen when I answer instead of telling me who I am. They both nod. Second, I say, stop telling people I'm a disaster or that I never finished anything. That version of me needs to retire. Permanently, Mom laughs through her tears. Consider it fired, she says. We'll issue a statement. Third, I say, when I share something I'm proud of, whether it's a deal, a property, a charity project, I need you to treat it like it matters. The same way you brag about Daniel's promotions or anyone else's milestones. Not because of the money, because it's my life's work. That's fair, Dad says quietly. More than fair. And last, I say, if I help you with anything, business, projects, whatever, we do it in a way that doesn't erase boundaries. I won't be your emergency ATM, but I will be a resource if we agree on how that looks. Dad looks startled. Help us, he repeats. After everything? Yeah, I say, we're still family. Messy, complicated, frustrating family, but family? He chokes up for a second. My practice, he starts, then stops. The firm has been struggling. We lost clients after the pandemic. I've been trying to pretend it's fine. It's not, Mom nods, wiping new tears. And my literacy program, she says, we have volunteers, we have kids. What we don't have is enough funding to expand. We're turning people away and it's breaking my heart. I nod. I know, I say. I've seen little bits of it on social media. Here's what I propose. Dad, I can introduce you to some of the small business owners I know who need good accountants and hate huge firms. Mom, I can help you set up a proper foundation and matching grant structure for your program. I'll put seed money in, but you run it, you keep the mission. You do that? Mom whispers. After how we treated you? Two things can be true at once, I say. You hurt me, and I still want you to succeed. I'm not God. I'm just your kid who happened to stumble into more resources than any of us expected. Dad lets out a shaky laugh. Stumble, he repeats. You hustled, don't sell yourself short. That's new, I say. You complimenting my hustle? I'm still getting used to the idea that you're not a teenager playing at being a businesswoman, he says. I need time. But I'm proud, Alina, really proud, even if I have no idea what half the words you're using mean. That hits. I try not to show just how hard. Thank you, I say. I've wanted to hear that since I had my first spreadsheet. We all laugh. Soft, a little broken, but real. Later, as brunch wraps up and people drift off to pack and catch rides back to town, the four of us stay at the table. We talk logistics, not just money, habits, boundaries. I tell them, I'm not going to show you every line item of my accounts. You're not shareholders. But if you want to understand the basics of how I built this, we can sit down with a whiteboard sometime. No judgment, just information. Dad nods. I want that, he says. I was so focused on telling you what was safe that I never bothered to learn what was actually possible. Mom reaches for my hand. I want to know you, she says. Not the version I built in my head. You, the real you, the one who did all this. Can you let me try? Yes, I say, on one condition. She smiles through her tears. There are always conditions with you, she says. That hasn't changed. We're all grown-ups now, I say. If you slip back into old patterns, talking down to me, minimizing me, I'm going to call it out. Gently at first. But I won't just swallow it and go quiet. That part of my life is over. She nods. I respect that, she says, and if I do it, you can smack me with a bread roll. I will, I say. Those things are dangerous. Daniel looks between us. This feels huge, he says, like a before and after moment. It is, I say. For me, it definitely is. He clears his throat. Look, he says, I know my apology got kind of tangled up in logistics this week, so I want to say it clearly without a venue crisis hanging over us. I look at him. He meets my eyes. I'm sorry I let Mom and Dad talk me into cutting you off, he says. I'm sorry I said you weren't family, that you were too much drama, that you'd make the wedding about you. That was garbage. It wasn't true. I was stressed. I was lazy. And I believed the wrong version of you because it was convenient. My eyes sting. That's very specific, I say. I appreciate the accuracy. He smiles weakly. I want you in our life, he says. Mine and Madison's, like really in it. Not just as the fairy godmother who drops venues out of the sky. As my sister, the one I should have had her back the whole time. I swallow. You've got mine now, I say. We can't change what happened. But we can do better going forward. Madison nods emphatically. And for the record, she says, looking at my parents, I want our kids someday to know this version of Aunt Alina, the real one. The builder, the owner, the woman who took a mountain of judgment and still chose kindness. Mom presses her napkin to her eyes again. You're going to be a wonderful mother, she says. If I don't mess them up with my overthinking, Madison laughs. We all mess up our kids somehow, Dad says. The goal is to give them enough love and honesty to survive it. We all laugh because damn if that isn't accidentally wise. That afternoon, people start heading back to the city. Suitcases, hugs, car doors closing. I walk my parents down to the parking area. We stand by their car for a second, the silence weirdly comfortable now. Dad looks back at the lodge, then at me. You really own this, he says. Yes, I say. It's impressive, he admits. I still don't fully get how, but I'm willing to learn if you'll teach an old man some new tricks. Deal, I say. But I'm charging you in hugs and coffee, he chuckles. Done, he says. Those are affordable. Mom hugs me next. She holds on longer than normal. You're not the failure of this family, she says quietly into my shoulder. You never were, we just didn't bother to see past our own expectations. I close my eyes. I know that now, I say. I just need you to remember that when the gossip starts flying. She pulls back and cups my face. Let them talk, she says. This time I'll actually tell them the truth. They get in the car. The engine starts. Before they drive off, Dad rolls down the window. Alina, he calls. Yeah, he hesitates. Then says, I'm proud of you. 3 words. For some people, nothing. For me, a tectonic shift. Thanks, Dad, I say. I'm proud of me too. They drive away. Dust kicks up behind the car. The ranch gets quiet again. Later that evening, after the last shuttle leaves and the staff finishes packing away the last of the glassware, I sit again on the steps of the main lodge. Same spot as the night before the wedding. Same sky, different world. My phone buzzes. A text from Dad. Dad, send me the name of a good book about this kind of business. Real estate, hospitality, maybe we can read it together. Another from Mom. Mom, I drafted a new mission statement for my literacy program. Can I send it to you? I want your advice. I'm finally ready to think bigger. And one from Daniel. Danny, Madison says hi, we're still crying about everything in a good way. Thank you for giving us the most insane wedding and a second chance at doing this family thing right. Then, Danny, also for the record, you being rich is the least interesting thing about you. Don't let anyone act like that's the only part that matters. I smile, lean my head back against the post. Type one last reply me, deal, from now on we measure success in honesty, not just dollar signs. I put my phone away. The ranch is still mine, the business is still mine. The numbers in my accounts didn't change because my family finally learned the truth. What changed was this: I'm not carrying all of it alone in the dark anymore. No more hiding. No more shrinking to fit their idea of realistic. No more letting them write my story while I just quietly stack results. They know now who I am, what I built, what I'm willing to give, and what I won't tolerate anymore. Family didn't magically become perfect overnight. We're still messy, still stubborn, still capable of saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, but we're now building from truth, not from assumptions. And that's worth more than any lodge, ranch, or portfolio I'll ever own. Because for the first time in a long time, I don't just have a successful business. I have my family back, on my terms, on honest terms. And that feels like the real win. If this story hit home for you, drop a like and subscribe for more stories about family, second chances, and quiet success. And tell me in the comments, have you ever been misunderstood by your own family?